we haven't talked about drilling in a minute, and drilling is so incredibly useful. I wouldn't even necessarily say important, because in the hierarchy of things that make you a good fighter and a good martial artist, it really, well, one, it depends on how you drill and how you're defining what drilling is, because believe it or not, people don't agree on definitions. And I think the definition personally is kind of cut and dry, but that's, people don't go and look up precedent, and whatnot either. So, so the thing is that drilling may or may not be important, but it, just like, say, doing forms, my consistent argument there is that it is at least of some utility, it's of some value. There was a great article, I'll see if I can pull this up and throw it on Substack for you guys. There was a great article by Swordstem, which is kind of a science-based HEMA group or website, and the idea was, and they borrowed this idea from somewhere else, but the idea that they put forth was that anything you do instruction-wise has to be greater than the benefit of just sparring, or let's call it free play. It's not always free sparring, right? But the fuck around and find out method, which is honestly my preferred thing, right? And I will say that I kind of default to, let's just play and figure things out. That's how I work best. But admittedly, that is not how everybody works best. All right, anytime I've been like on a job site, learning a new skill, anything like that, trying to put me through the paces of learn the step-by-step thing never works. But you just kind of throw me in, let me make mistakes. I understand there are some scenarios where mistakes are not a thing that you can do, so you have to learn formulaically. I get that. But for the most part, I am absolutely a kind of just throw me in the mix and kind of let me learn on my feet kind of person. That's not everybody, and that may not even be a majority of people. So the point is that there is a position for drilling, and for a lot of people, drilling is better than sparring because they don't have, they either don't have developed instincts or a knack for certain things, or they don't have a high level of movement competency, things like that. So that brings up the question, like, what is drilling good for, right? If drilling has to do something better than sparring, right? Because let's include drilling part of the instruction side of things. Drilling has to serve a purpose beyond just learning how to mix it up and learning how to fight, right? And so, drills can either be solo drills or partner drills, up to including full, groups of people, depending on what you're doing. Solo drills almost always are going to be working on the actual movement capacity, that the technique, how you do something, and quite often attribute development, like the athletic qualities that go to developing and performing that move, right? So you're essentially working on practice and performance in solo drills. When you get to partner drills, you're putting things in a somewhat sterilized environment that is, it gives you some context, like it gives you a kind of an impressionistic setting, but it doesn't give you the full context of a fight. And that lets you at least work out a semi-rudimentary concept of idealized timing, angle, things like that. And that is, of course, incredibly valuable. The problem with that, and this is the problem that I have, I've talked about this many times before, this is the problem I have with like the rote memorization of one steps, is that you can very easily fall into the trap of going from I am developing movement competency and kind of a rudimentary concept of the setting in which this is used to this is how I fight. And if you try to transcribe like one for one from the drill to the fight, it doesn't always work out because your opponent is rarely ever the person that you're drilling with. And I mean, if you're sparring in class, they might actually frequently be the person you're drilling with, but they're going to rarely ever move exactly the way that you do in the drill. In fact, because you're training together, they may be trying to avoid moving the way that you do in the drill because they're going to be trying to get a leg up on you. And then if you deal with people from outside of your normal class, then you're going to be dealing with people who don't train in any way, shape, or form the way that you do. And they're going to be like, they might throw a similar kind of attack in a similar kind of ballpark, again, kind of an impressionistic idea of where that might be, but the specific details are so context dependent. You cannot just transcribe from drill to thing one-on-one. And so like the value of drills, really a lot of people really overstate the value of drills. They really think that drills equal fighting competency, and they don't. Drills help you kind of push something into like your implicit memory, into your automated algorithmic systems that do the decision making. If I need to make the decision to move this way, my body is already prepped and ready to move this way. That's conditioning, right? That is exactly what conditioning is supposed to be. Conditioning is saying, if my algorithm says if then, my then is ready. And that's what that is, right? So solo drilling is the capacity for the then, and partner drilling is to give you the if then, but in a very vague and generalized and idealized way, right? It cuts out all the noise. Think of it like, look, I'm not really a gamer anymore. I mention this from time to time, right? I haven't owned a game system in over a decade. If I want to play games or something, I'll download something on my phone real quick and forget about it in a week. Or I'll, go to the local arcade or something like that. And again, that's not very often. I'm just not really a gamer. I don't have a problem with games, but anyway, the point is that a lot of like modern fighting games actually have a training mode. And that training mode basically just gives you a dummy opponent. Now, I mean, you can select from the characters. It's not a faceless dummy, not usually. But it usually just stands there in a stance. It generally doesn't offer you anything back. Now, some of them will offer some movement, will offer, some pushback, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them basically are just, like an AI-less opponent, one that has the capacity to kind of move with you as you being the anchor on the screen, but for the most part, otherwise, they're just standing there as a target for you to work on, right? That is kind of what that kind of drilling is, right? It's allowing you to kind of sink in those patterns or whatnot. And that is of value. And again, it's not something that I am particularly personally fond of. It's not something that I particularly enjoy doing. And, just like, if you play a musical instrument, running scales, it's a lot of people find that that's the key to the thing that they need to do. And that's great. And other people are like, I just want to play. There's a lot of us out there that are just like, let me just play, let me make my mistakes, I'll make mental note of my mistakes and then keep on going. And then, if I need a drilling session to kind of figure out something, right, then I'm doing that with purpose for context because I have a reason to develop it, right? I no longer have this amorphous, I'm building a toolkit for insurance. It's now I have a specific problem and I'm problem solving. That clicks in the brain a little better for me. But again, you are not me. You may find yourself in a different situation where you actually want that formulaic rote kind of thing. And that is totally fine. Not knocking that at all. But the point is that you have to understand where the drilling is useful. There are a lot of people like me who will err on the side of sparring and play, randomized kind of stuff. And that works, but it doesn't work for everybody. And there's a lot of people who will err on the side of drilling, believing that sparring will only ingrain bad habits. Look, everything's going to ingrain bad habits. You have to constantly revisit everything because you're always going to be doing something wrong. because the context is going to change, and that necessitates that anything you do in any given moment will be wrong in another context. So you always have to retread the same ground and refine and fix things anyway. So I'm not worried about that. A lot of people also just don't want to spar because they're not interested in martial arts. They're interested in looking like they know martial arts, but that's another story for another time. We're going to go ahead and discount those people for the sake of this, because the people that want to learn how to look like they know how to fight but not actually fight, there's no time for them. So the point is that, if you're a sparring person like me, don't discount. And conversely, right, if you're already a drilling person, don't discount sparring, because the fact is that a lot of people, it is built into us, right? This is the discovery learning process that is kind of inbuilt in humans. Like, we do learn well as a species by just kind of getting in and doing a thing. And think about the last time you started a new job. Most of the time, you didn't take a sit down lecture class with a notebook to learn how to do the procedure of the thing, right? Usually, like, they bring you over to the site where the task that needs to be done is done. They give you a quick gloss and just say, go. If you have any questions, come find me. I'll let you go. And like, that honestly, in my opinion, right? Yeah, that kind of does work. But like I said, it might not be the majority of people. That might just be a preferential thing. I don't know. But the fact is that there is a significant portion of the population that learns well by just kind of getting thrown in the deep end and figuring it out. And that really does do a lot, but it does fail pretty miserably at really sharpening up technique and making the technique super crisp and clean. It's actually one of the reasons why that you see a lot of MMA fighters kind of look like they have crappy technique, because a lot of them are erring on the side of sparring and not on drilling. All right, I have rambled on long enough, and I will talk to you guys later. Good journey. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Check us out on our other socials, and please head over to blacksunboxing.com to get a little more info, including how to contact us. Furthermore, if you are in the Phoenix area, please feel free to stop in, say hi, join in for a class, whatever. Also, if you ever see us cite sources or just for additional content, please check out our Substack. That is where we put all of the sources we use in our videos and is a major part of this. Plus, it serves as a membership platform for long distance learning and for people who would like to support us but aren't local. We would greatly appreciate it if you signed up. Even just the free membership helps us out a lot. All right, I will see you guys in the next video. Good journey.